Your life as every level of being hunted by the Gestapo. Moment 1. The question at the door. It begins with a knock that is too polite to ignore and too calm to dismiss. You are standing in the kitchen with a piece of stale bread in your mouth when it comes. 3 measured taps. Not urgent. Not angry. The kind of knock that assumes the door will open because the person outside already believes he belongs there. You keep chewing because stopping would make the fear feel official. At the door stands a man in a dark coat with gloves still on. He asks whether a woman named Ruth Adler ever used this address on a municipal form. He does not threaten you, he does not need to. His voice is clean, practiced, and almost bored. You answer no too fast. Then you soften it. Perhaps years ago. Perhaps before the new registrations. He watches the correction more carefully than the lie itself. When he leaves, your palm stays on the door long after it shuts. Your wife asks who it was from the other room. You say, nothing official. The sentence comes out too smoothly. You hate how ready it sounded. That evening, you think of warning Ruth. You even put on your coat. Then you sit back down. You tell yourself walking across Berlin at night would attract attention. You tell yourself there is still time. Really, you want one more evening where the soup can cool on the table and mean nothing. That is the first level. Not arrest, not pursuit. Permission. The state has asked your name a question, and now your body knows it. Moment 2. The file begins to form. After that, life does not explode. It tightens. At work, your supervisor asks whether you still have family in Charlottenburg. He asks it while looking down at a folder. At the ration office, a clerk studies your papers too long before returning them. In the stairwell, the woman downstairs stops complaining about coal dust and starts becoming quiet when you appear. You tell yourself this is what the city is now. Delays, checks, nerves, everyone is being watched a little. That is the lie that lets you continue doing the most dangerous thing of all, repeating yourself. You keep taking the same route home. Ruth arrives after dark 2 days later, breathing through her mouth, scarf wet from sleet. She smells of wet wool and cold stone. She says a printer has been taken. A courier has disappeared. Names are moving through offices faster than people can move through streets. You let her in before checking the landing properly. Your fingers fumble the latch. You notice that and pretend you do not. Your wife does not argue. She just brings a blanket and asks whether your son should be told anything. The fact that she does not raise her voice makes the room feel smaller. A family only goes quiet like that when fear has already entered and sat down. You promise Ruth 2 nights. No more. On the second night, you burn 1 note, but not the ration stub in your coat pocket. Her handwriting is on the back. Only an address. Only a few numbers. You are tired. Your eyes ache. You tell yourself 1 scrap of paper cannot become a life. You sleep in your trousers. Moment 3. You are no longer merely nervous. They come for you at work, not to arrest you, not yet. 2 men ask for clarification and lead you downstairs to a room that smells of dust, radiator heat, and stale tobacco. One asks questions, the other watches your hands. They ask about Ruth Adler, then about a bookseller. Then about an evening you spent in a cafe where no one said anything illegal, which now makes the memory itself feel guilty. They do not accuse you of treason. They accuse you of inconsistency. That is worse. Treason is grand. Inconsistency is administrative. It means a file can grow around you without drama. You try to answer plainly. Your throat dries before each reply. You rub your thumb against your finger under the table because you need one part of your body to keep doing something ordinary. Then you make the mistake that changes the room. When asked where you were on Tuesday, you answer correctly and add that your son had a cough. No one asked about your son. The man writing looks up for the first time. Family is not protection. Family is leverage. They release you after 2 hours. Outside, the air feels too sharp in your chest. You tell yourself that if they meant to keep you, they would have. You hold that thought all the way home. Your wife is waiting in the kitchen wearing her coat indoors. Men came while you were out. They asked the neighbors whether you receive visitors. One said no. Another said she had heard steps late at night. Now the danger changes. It is not just the state. It is the building, the hallway, the woman across the landing. Your own staircase has begun remembering you. Your wife says Ruth must leave tonight. You say Dawn will be safer. It is not caution anymore. It is fear dressed as judgment. Moment 4. The apartment stops, belonging to you. The search begins before sunrise. This time, the knock is violent enough to shake the frame. Your wife is already awake. Ruth is standing in the dark of the box room, holding her boots instead of wearing them. That detail stays with you more than the rest. Even in terror, people still worry about the sound they make. Men enter with cold air and paper authority. Drawers are emptied, blankets are thrown aside. A hand lifts your son's school notebook and flips through it like evidence. One officer opens the kitchen cupboard where the good cups are kept, and the sight of that, state hands among ordinary dishes, makes your stomach turn more than the shouting. Ruth is gone by then. Your wife moved faster than you did. Through the rear passage, before first light, while you were still telling yourself there might be another hour. They do not find the thing that would condemn you completely. They find the things that condemn you enough. The ration stub, a tram ticket, a name crossed out inside a book, harmless objects separately, together a pattern. They do not arrest you. They leave you standing in the wreckage, which is worse. An arrest ends uncertainty. This leaves it alive. At work, your desk has been moved. No explanation. Just distance. Colleagues avoid your eye as though looking directly at you might place them in the same sentence. That night, your wife says your son will stay with her sister for a while. She says it flatly. No tears, no theater. The family is beginning to reorganize itself around the possibility that you are the removable part. You consider running. You shave instead. You button your collar with trembling fingers and call it discipline. Moment 5. Every street narrows. Toward them. For 3 days you move between borrowed places, a church basement, a widow's spare room, the back of a repair shop that smells of burnt wire and oil. In every place you tell yourself you are only passing through. In every place you stay a little too long because leaving makes the danger feel chosen. Your body is no longer loyal to you. You sweat when rooms are cold. You cough when silence matters. You eat too quickly and hate yourself for being hungry in borrowed houses. At last you decide to reach the safe address Ruth once mentioned, the one you should have forgotten properly instead of merely hiding on paper. The tram is crowded with damp coats and grey faces. Nobody looks at you directly. That becomes its own kind of pressure. At the checkpoint, an officer asks for your papers. Your hand pauses inside your coat 1 beat too long. That beat is enough. He sees the hesitation before he sees anything else. He asks where you are going. You answer with a district instead of a street. He asks again. A second officer appears. Then a third. Street level becomes file level, and file level becomes state level in less than a minute. That is how total systems work. They do not race after you. They wait until all exits become versions of the same door. They guide you to a side room without spectacle. People on the platform glance over, then away. The city has learned how not to witness. One officer removes the family photograph from your wallet and studies it longer than your identification. That hurts more than the grip on your arm. In that moment, capture stops being about movement. It becomes something deeper. Your private life has become searchable property. History is no longer around you. It has touched you. Historical collapse. The Gestapo office is warm, clean, and procedural. Your belt is taken. Your laces are removed. Your belongings are listed. Questions return in loops until repetition itself becomes violence. Ruth Adler. Addresses, names. Why would a records clerk risk himself for someone already marked by the law? The lamp makes your skin feel hot and unreal. You answer some things. Deny others. Hear your own voice shrinking into smaller and smaller bargains. At some point, a typed statement is placed before you. Most of it is already written. Only your agreement is missing. This is the collapse, not the checkpoint, not the hand on your shoulder, the desk, the paper. The realization that the machine does not need your hatred or your confession. It only needs your completion. Whether you sign or refuse changes less than you want it to. A cell waits either way. The hunt ends tidily. That is what makes it unbearable. Existential epilogue. After that, life continues in routines small enough to survive inside. You begin measuring time by sounds, keys, boots, a bucket scraping stone, someone coughing 2 cells away before dawn. When bread arrives, you hide part of it before hunger fully comes. Your body learns captivity faster than your mind agrees to it. You think of your wife speaking more carefully in her own kitchen. You think of your son learning not to ask where his father is when other adults can hear. That is the real punishment. Not the questioning, not the file. The inheritance of caution. The worst part is not that they found you. It is that they proved ordinary life can be entered, sorted, and broken. Long after the questions stop, you still reach for papers that are no longer in your pocket. You still listen for footsteps before sleep. You still feel the urge to explain yourself before anyone has spoken. History does not end when the arrest is over. It goes on living inside the body that learned to wait for it.